Hey guys, it's BrowncoatNerd, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Polish Radom P64. This was first produced in Poland in 1965. It replaced their version of the Makarov, the TTC, this guy right here. This fired the 7.62 x 25 round. My understanding when they first were designing the P64, it was actually designed to use the 380 round, or the 9mm what was it called, 9mm Browning short. But because of the Warsaw Pact and all of the Soviet Union satellite countries, Russia wanted them to be using the same ammo, which makes sense. They ended up changing it over to the 9x18 Makarov round. Now, a lot of times I'll see this gun mislabeled as a Makarov. It does fire the Makarov round, but itself in a design is not actually a Makarov. I'll often hear it referred to as the Polish Makarov or the Baby Mac. And while those are pretty close to being true, Poland never actually made a Makarov, so, I guess this would be it. And it is much smaller than the Makarov, so it is kind of a baby. But the mechanics of it, they're both blowback operated, but the internals are not the same as a Makarov. It is not a Makarov clone or, sized down. What it is a copy of is the Walter PPK. There is some argument on this. Some people say there's little differences in it. But I really don't think there's any arguing. At the very least, they took the design and engineering cues from the Walter. Now, compared to a Makarov, this is a Bulgarian Makarov. It is quite a bit smaller. The barrel length on it is shorter. The grip is shorter. The thickness is slimmer. I don't know how well that's kind of coming up in the camera there, but the P64 is quite a bit thinner than the Makarov. Now, the P64 does hold 6+1 rounds, so it holds a few less than the Makarov. Kind of go over some of the features here. The front sight, as you can see, which is not horribly unusual for these older guns, is very small and hardly there. We do have some serrations along the top of the slide to help with glare. And could probably also work as a file in a pinch if you needed to. The rear sights complement the front sights in the fact that they are barely there. Now, I will say when I take this out to the range, because these sights are so small, I really take my time getting this guy targeted in. And this is actually probably one of my most accurate handguns I have. I mean, I'm not a great shot, but, it's the shortest barrel on any of my guns, I'm pretty sure, but yet it really puts them in there. And part of that, I'm sure, is due to these little itty-bitty sights. It doesn't leave a whole lot of margin for error. Now, this little silver pin you see back here, that's actually a loaded chamber indicator. When you have a round in the chamber, this will stick out a little bit. So you can glance down at it, you can tell it's sticking out, and you can also feel it. So if you're in, not a well-lit area, you can also tell if that's chambered just by the feel of that pin, which is one feature I really like. I mean, I know the loaded chamber indicator is by far not anything new, but it's just, I really enjoy it, especially when these older guns have that. The safety is on the side here like a Makarov, or rather more like a Walter PPK. The Makarov, the safety lever is up for safe, and then down for fire, and this one is the reverse of that. Normally there's a lot more red paint right there. When I first got this gun, that safety was almost impossible to move. So I really had to oil it up and clean it up, and in the process some of that paint came off. I plan on touching that up at some point in time. This gun has been safety checked also. So it kind of makes a weird... I don't like the safety being backwards like that. A lot of people use these as conceal and carry, as do I. This has been my carry gun for the last 2 years. Just recently is getting ready to get replaced. But when you pull this out, you've got to push down on your thumb and then kind of readjust your grip, rather than just getting a hold of the grip and flipping down to put it into fire. I much prefer that. But it is what it is. This one has the rounded hammer. They did change this out to more of a triangled hammer. It gives you a little better purchase for your thumb, although it doesn't fight you at all. And this safety is a decocker. So that's not a big deal. They changed the hammer in 1973 or 74. They changed out that hammer. I think they also did some internal adjustments to the trigger mechanism, and I think they also did some adjustments to the feed ramp in there as well. One thing I will say while we're on the safety here, I've seen more than one video of people talking about how this has a, carry on a hammer back safety option where they will pull the hammer back and then they'll click the safety down to right here. And it does, like I said, this gun has been safety checked. I mean, the gun is inoperable, and there is a little bit of a catch when you do that. So you feel some resistance right there. But this gun was not designed to do that. So I highly recommend, especially if you carry, not to use this little half safety. Some people call it a feature. I don't think it's even a feature, guys. I think it's just a little bit of a catch here, and people are thinking that's how you can carry it. The problem I have with this is that's pretty loose right there. From this point, it wouldn't take a whole lot of jostling around for this safety to get flipped all the way up to fire, and the next thing you know, you're blowing a testicle off. That's not a good day for anyone. This does have a double action, single action trigger. The double action trigger is horrible. The single action trigger is actually not that bad. So doing this, and then once it gets flipped up here, obviously your hammer would be back if you're going to be carrying it like that. You've got a real light trigger. Just please do not do that. The grips are just plastic, nothing special about them. They've got some texturing here. It's actually kind of smooth. It's not very aggressive. It looks aggressive, but it's really not. The grip is rather thin, which makes this a very, very snappy guy to shoot. It is a blowback operated handgun. 9x18 Makarov is pretty much the highest caliber you'll see in the blowback handguns. I think Walter's got one out, but it's got a gas delay on it. And I think the high points are too, but those don't count. As you can see, it's got kind of a not clean seam on the grip here. I think that also kind of aids into this guy. While it's accurate, it is not necessarily a fun gun to shoot at the shooting range. After about 3 mags, I think I'm done. But this just really digs into you. Not to mention, when you try to get a real good grip on this and get high up in there in that beaver tail, which it kind of does have a beaver tail, my hands are kind of small. I don't have very fat hands. I know a lot of other shooters, their hands are quite a bit bigger. But I see slide bite being an issue for a lot of people. And it's gotten me a few times, not often. But like I said, I kind of have dainty little hands. The magazines, let me throw one in here. They do have a nice little pinky rest, which for me is nice. I can get my hand up in there, and even my crooked pinky can barely, get up on that. Once again, if you have bigger hands, I see this guy being a real pain in the butt for you. So you might want to remove that. I think there's a normal floor plate underneath this rest, so you can take that plastic rest off and just have, a standard looking magazine or Dremel it off or something. It does have the Euro style mag release, which, doesn't bother me too much. Another thing I'll point out real quick, there's actually 2 different kinds of magazines. I believe these magazines changed when they changed out the hammer, and I think they did some adjustments to the feed ramp. But as you can see, maybe, this here, the cutout, is bigger on this magazine than it is on this one. You see that lip comes forward a lot more. I've seen some people say that these mags are not interchangeable. Make sure you get the correct mag for your gun. I believe this is the original mag for the rounded hammers. And I think, I might be wrong on this though, guys, that the one with the widened notch is the one for the rectangle hammers. Now maybe the ones with the triangular hammers, they're not interchangeable, at least on mine with the rounded hammer. This one was made in 1969 there. It's got that wonderful Circle 11. On mine, it seems to not have any issues as to which mag it uses. I will note that the ones with the bigger notch, a little bit easier to load. So if you're at a pawn shop or something and you see some of these, and these are specific mags for the P64, you can't use a Makarov mag. Go for the one with the open notch. It just makes it slightly easier to load. Nothing really special on the trigger guard here. To break it down, it does break down just like a Makarov. So you just pull the trigger guard down and kind of push it off to the side. If you know how to break down a Makarov, you will have no issues cleaning this guy. You'll know exactly what you're doing. Just a 9mm, of course it's 9x18 Makarov P64. On the other side, you got the manufacturing date, Circle 11 for Poland, serial number. Then, of course, on mine, the import mark is right here on the side, which, I mean, I guess it's not too bad. I've seen some where they're right here. Would much prefer that. It's a much cleaner look, obviously. But it is what it is. The extractor, you'll notice on mine, looks like it was like red at one point in time, and someone colored it over with a magic marker. I've seen this on a few of the P64s. I'm going to assume that that was like a replacement extractor at some point. I've also seen a few with the plum finish on the safety, like on the traditional Makarovs. But most of them, from what I've seen, are black like this one here. Back strap, like I showed you earlier, has got a little bit of texture. It's just the same on the side. So it's, excuse me, it's not real aggressive. The front is just smooth. Most of these that you'll see on the market are in pretty good shape. For the most part, there are some pretty beat up ones. But I don't know if they just didn't use these a lot, or the ones that we got imported just weren't heavily used. But for the most part, if you're ordering one of these, you're probably going to get one at the very least in decent condition. Now, like I said, this was my daily carry for the last 2 years. Just recently, I'm getting ready to replace it with my Beretta 85F Cheetah that I've already done a review on. Just need to get an inside the waistband holster for that guy. Since this is so popular to be a carry gun, which is kind of unusual because it's an old mil surplus gun, it's nice, super thin, but it's not very light. That frame, I'm pretty sure, is steel. I don't think it's an alloy. You do have some options. This guy right here, what is this? Outbags USA. I bought this, I want to say, for like around 15 bucks. It's for the P64. This is just kind of a nice pocket holster. I'll use this, obviously, as a pocket holster sometimes. In a pinch, I can use it as an inside the waistband holster. I also like to keep it in my car if I'm getting ready to go into some place that, you know, you just can't have a firearm on you. You know, I can take this out of my inside the waistband holster, put it in here, and just leave it in my console so it's not going to get beat up or dinged up or anything. Now, the holster I've been using for the last 2 years is this guy right here. It's made by SHTF Gear with a little fan logo. Kind of funny. They have since changed their name to Black Arc Holsters. I cannot remember the price on this. It was cheaper than a lot of the other Kydex holsters. This guy's been great. I've been very, very happy with it. I'll give you guys a little show here. Fits in really nicely. If I'm dangling from my feet by a mobster, you know, it's going to stay in there at least for a while. But I've been very happy with this holster. So that, I mean, that's right there is just a bonus that, you know, it's a gun made in 1969. I can find a inside the waistband holster for it. Like I said, it's a very accurate little guy. Not the most comfortable to shoot, though, for a prolonged amount of time at the range. It just really digs into your hand. But I think if you just simply throw on a pair of gloves, you're going to be fine. Usually you can find these pretty cheap. I think I paid $200 or maybe a little over $200 from Aim Surplus a couple years ago for this guy. And you'll still find them around $250. A few times I have seen them pop up recently for a little under $200. So you do got some options out there for sure. If you're into Makarovs, if you collect Makarovs, this is kind of a nice piece. Like I said, it's not actually a Makarov, but I still think it would be a nice addition to your collection. If you're like me, you collect military surplus, but you want a conceal and carry gun, and you don't want to buy a new gun, this is a very nice option, but it is heavy. The sights suck. And the trigger pull, I don't think I ever really truly got on that. Double action. Once again, this has been safety checked. This is with a Wolf spring job. This is the lightest spring they had. And it is still, I don't know if you can see how red my fingertip is turning, heavier than a garbage truck. And I kid you not, the factory double pull trigger on this, I think, is around 25, 28 pounds. It's ridiculous. Single action from the factory is really nice. Although once you put that spring in here, now there's no real clear breaking point. It's just kind of in there somewhere, which kind of sucks. Anyone that ever shoots this gun, I always warn them. I'm like, that second shot's going to come before, you know, you're expecting it. But still, it's better than what it was. So I am happy with that. All right, guys, this is pretty much all I've got to say about the P64. It's a handy little gun. I think it works okay as a conceal and carry. I know some people argue with the age of the gun and the fact that it's, less than a 9mm. But to each their own. For the price, around $200, even $250, and especially if you find one that's in good shape, I think you're getting a hell of a deal, and I'd say jump on it. Just wear some gloves when you take it out to the range. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great day.